Guys, so this is going to be just like a basic overview of what preterite tense is. I got a couple of our old note PDFs up here because I'm going to be showing you off of those instead of like the tiny little screen on here. But we're going to start with basic, regular AR verbs and how you change them to preterite tense. So this was like the first round of preterite tense you guys ever had. What, last module? 2 modules ago now? 2 modules ago now, I want to say, just because we've been doing this for quite some time. So if it's a basic AR verb, it's not irregular, it's not a stem changer, it's not anything different, right? It's just going to have the basic endings that come to preterite tense verbs. So those endings are, and again, this is for AR verbs. We're going to talk about ER and IR in the next tab. If it's an AR verb, and it's just a basic, regular, non-special verb, like usual, you change your ending by taking off the AR in this case, putting an E accent mark for yourself, aste for tú, o accent mark for one individual, amos for nosotros, and aron for lots of people. Ellos, ellas, ustedes, whoever it is. We don't do vosotros, so ignore that one, right? This is an example of organizar. We did this for chores, if you remember, so a lot of these verbs are going to be like chore activity words. So if I'm talking about some people that were organizing in the past, so I organized, or she organized, or whoever it was, then this is how it would change. Yo, remember this is always going to be about yourself. I just don't type it in because I'm assuming by now we know where our pronouns go for Spanish too. So yo organice mi cuarto. I organize my room. If I'm talking to you, right? If I'm talking to tú, whoever it might be that I'm referring to as tú, I could say tú organizaste la casa. You organized the whole house. One person. El chico, mi mamá, mi amigo, ella, whoever it is, right? But one person. Originally, this would be el, ella, or usted, but I'm just saying any individual. Ella organizó su carro. She organized her car, took out all the trash, stuff like that. Nosotros organizamos el trabajo. We organized our work. And lots of people, ellos, ellas, ustedes, mis amigos, mis primos, los maestros, whoever it is, organizaron los libros, which is what I had to do in my classroom, like at the end of every day. So, organizaron los libros. We'll say that. That was the only example I gave you. This is just the basic preterite tense endings that we have now been using for quite some time when it comes to regular verbs. The endings are still always going to be the same. Only thing, and you'll see that kind of when we get to this last slide here, although I might do a video just on irregulars. I'll mention it here, but then I'll probably do a video just on irregular. The only difference, if it's irregular, we're going to just mention it now, is the accents are most likely not going to follow the same rules. So that could mean two things. It could be that they don't have accents at all, because only 2 of them have them here, right? So it might just be irregular because it doesn't follow accent rules, aka no accents exist, or it might be irregular if it doesn't follow accent rules because all accents exist, right? It just depends as to which of the 2 rule-breaking aspects it wants to follow. But basic, regular AR preterite verbs, this is your chart. And most of them, luckily, are regular. The second type we had were ER/IR. Whoops, let me make this bigger. These were ER/IR verbs because both of these endings use the same chart. So in preterite tense, only 2 charts exist, even though, of course, there are 3 types of verbs: AR verbs, ER verbs, or IR verbs. So this second chart encompasses both ER and IR. Same idea, the pattern is basically still there. You still have one vowel and an accent for yourself, except this case, it's going to be an I instead of the E that you had here. Iste, same idea. Instead of the usual vowel you had on the AR, you have an I here, but it would be iste. Here you still have an O accent, but now you also have an I in front of it. Imos, same idea. Instead of having an A, you have an I. And instead of having an A, you have an IE for ieron. So, depending on what the verb is, like if it's an IR verb, It fits perfectly, right? Because all of these start with an I. If it's an ER verb you're actually changing, hopefully it doesn't get confusing because technically you don't really use E's here. There's only one random E that shows up on this side. So this looks like it would fit only for an IR verb, but actually it's for both. So I did give you, I should say, 2 examples. One using an ER, one using an IR verb. So barrer, or to sweep. So I swept, right, in the past tense. Yo barrí la cocina. I swept the kitchen. I could ask you, ¿tú barriste el baño? Did you sweep the bathroom? You could say, no, mi papá barrió el baño. No, my dad swept the bathroom. Right? Accent on the O, accent on yourself. It's a regular verb. They follow the accent rules. Nosotros barrimos el patio. We swept the patio. And ellos barrieron el comedor. They swept the dining room. Dining room? What the heck? The dining room. Sorry. Last or second verb. Now it's an IR verb. Same exact endings if you notice. This is sacudir, or to dust something off. So yo sacudí mis zapatos. I dusted off my shoes. Tú sacudiste la alfombra, the rug, right? Like outside, you went and dusted it off. One person, el chico, whoever, sacudió la mesa. He dusted off the table. Nosotros sacudimos la toalla, a towel. Have we had that word yet? No, I think we're coming up on that word actually. That's ahead of what we're doing right now. It's towel. It's fine. And then lots of people sacudieron, what could I say? La cama. They dusted off the bed. I don't know. You can dust anything, truthfully. La televisión. I always have to dust my TV because there's always like dust on it. Either way, sacudieron. Lots of people had to do something. So again, same normal AR. Same normal ER or IR preterite endings are followed. Still have an accent on the yourself and on the individual. Nothing really special about the words that we're using. It's just a basic verb. You take off the last 2 letters, you add the appropriate ending, you put accents where you need to on these 2, and that's it. I'll mention it here, but then I think I'm going to make a video specifically on like the difference between regular and irregular, but I'm going to still mention it a tiny bit. This preterite tense, let me make this bigger too, is the easiest, of course, forms to change because there's nothing special that you really have to remember to fix as well. So preterite tense, in general, just means the past tense. It's going to, because we did have imperfect, and there's another video on that, that was like a type of past tense. This is just the basic past tense that we know. It talks about an event, something, right, that happened in the past, and it's stayed in the past. Like, for example, I dusted my computer. I'm no longer still dusting it. That happened in the past. It happened yesterday. It happened 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. In regular verbs, AR, ER, IR, doesn't matter. They follow certain rules. Specifically, they follow accent rules. The rule is that you need to have accents on the yo form and on the one individual, like el, ella, or usted form. It's super important now, and I think I've mentioned this pretty well, to have these accents, because if you don't, then it changes the tense and it changes the person. So, for example, if I say limpio la cocina, the way this is spelled out right now, limpio la cocina, no accents, no anything, I'm saying I clean the kitchen. I didn't say yo because we know that you don't always have to put the pronoun. Just because of the way that something is ending, it automatically tells you who you talk about. Either way, I could have said yo limpio la cocina, but just by how it's spelled right now, it's saying I clean the kitchen. It's talking about myself, right? Yo, and about right now. I clean the kitchen. Like, I clean it every morning. I clean it whenever it is. If I do one thing and I put an accent on the O, everything else, if you notice, is exactly the same, except I have a little tiny apostrophe over the O. Now I'm saying something else. I'm saying either he or she or you formal, because I didn't give you a specific pronoun, so any of those people cleaned, ed, the kitchen. So now it's talking about other people, and it's talking about the past. So you completely changed what your sentence was trying to say. Like, if you're telling me, I cleaned the kitchen, but in reality you're talking about other people, this is just like the verb for clean, right? This could be anything else, truthfully, but it changes the entire context of what you're trying to say. So it's super important to remember that rule when it comes to regular verbs. If it's an irregular verb, which is what the bottom portion of this is your preterite tense study guide, by the way, from like last module. If it's an irregular verb, it breaks these rules. And I'm going to talk about it more in depth in the irregular verb video. But just remember, irregular verbs are irregular for that reason. They break the rules. In this case, usually, like literally 90% of the time, it's going to be the accent rule. But they might break it for different reasons. I think I mentioned that previously, right? It might be that they just don't use accents, or everyone uses an accent. So it kind of depends on the verb. But that's usually what's broken, accent rules. Okay, so I'm going to go do specifically an irregular verb review video for you right now, because this one's getting kind of long. But follow up on that one if you need that help too. All right, I'll see you guys in class.